Well, hello everyone, and welcome to fall. Welcome to Signature Style Saturday, because we are finally gonna get our fall on. It is time to start decorating for fall. The temperatures have finally moderated, and I am ready to transition into a new season. How about you? What do you say, Stuart?
I'm down, let's do it.
Well, maybe the happiest of my fall decorations is this beautiful chalk art display that my friend Charlie from across the street came over and did for me today. And she did such a good job. Stuart, can you notice all of she said, you know how pumpkins, a lot of times they have them staged up and down your steps? And so she couldn't wait to show me that she had drawn the pumpkins in that fashion, staged up. She nailed it. Her mama is an artist, and obviously she has some of her artistic temperament. But then she came up and she did all of this. Now Charlie is 7, almost 8, but she did all sorts of leaves and pumpkins. And her brother Jackson did a goalpost and a football and go Sooners. And anyhow, I think it is just the most charming way to decorate. So if you haven't already done so, you know, buy some chalk art or have the kids in your neighborhood bring over their own chalk art to decorate your entryway for fall. I think it is just a wonderful way to kick off the season. Well, if you are like me, you are so ready to bring out your fall wardrobe. I am done with shorts and bathing suits, and not that I was really ever into the bathing suit component, but I'm ready to get into boots and sweaters and jackets. And so, consequently, Stuart is too, I thought I would do an outfit of the day, partly because it's all about fall right now, but also because so many of you guys wanted to know about the trousers that I had on. Was it in, I guess it was in Wednesday's walkabout of last Wednesday. So let me start from top to bottom, because I've actually got a number of things on that you guys have asked about. And whenever possible, and especially for my breeches, I have put a link in the description box below. Well, let me just start from top to bottom before I wax rhapsodic about my trousers. Okay, my sunglasses are Ray-Bans. And by the way, somebody asked me the other day where I got a pair of Ray-Bans that I had. And typically, I always, if I can find them, and particularly if they're one that's not available anymore, I go to eBay to look for my Ray-Bans. They're at a lower price point, they're reused and I'm pre-loved, and I just kind of like that. So that's just a tip if you like the expensive look of Ray-Bans, but they're a little bit beyond your price point. Check out eBay. My earrings, I think I got from Target, but I will see if I can find a similar pair. I love gold in the fall, and especially really statement hoops, which I'm already a huge fan of, but statement hoops for fall, because I think they really capture the sunlight very, very nicely. Okay, my top is just a Gap sleeveless denim top that I got thrifted. You can probably find one just by Googling it almost anywhere, or better yet, check out your local thrift store. Okay, now to my pants. I don't think I've ever worn anything that had as many comments as these slacks did. These are wide leg, they're polyester. I don't wear a lot of polyester, but they're polyester slacks. They are eminently comfortable. They are not hot, so you can wear them in the summertime, even when it's blistering out. You can wear them in the wintertime. They definitely are an all-season wardrobe piece. In fact, I love them so much. I got one pair in kind of a creamy white, and subsequently I got 3 or 4 other colors. And I started getting them year before last, and so they're not brand new this season, but I just wear them on and off all through the year. and I don't think I can have enough pair of them. In fact, I think I'm getting ready to order another color.
Super comfortable.
They are very comfortable, and I think they're kind of slenderizing. So, and they make you look maybe taller than you really are. They have a Katharine Hepburn quality about them that I like, and they have pockets, something that I absolutely adore. You okay, Stuart?
Yeah.
Stuart, walking.
I'm fine. I hope the
Stuart,
plant's okay.
walking backwards. So if you guys want to order these, I did put a link in the description box below. They are not all equal online. All of them that I have are of the very same brand, and they are under $40. So they're very, very cost effective. You can just throw them in the washing machine and hang them up to dry. There really isn't anything not to love about them. And even though I've got on a sleeveless top with them right now, and they look cute with tank tops and things, they are equally as becoming when you wear them with a sweater or like one of my lily silk blouses. I was looking back to the photos from my son's wedding, exactly almost, it'll be a year ago tomorrow. And I was looking back and I wore the white ones for kind of a casual rehearsal dinner. So you can dress them up, you can dress them down, and because so many of you asked about them, I thought that I would show you where I got them in different ways to style them. Now, another pair of shoes that you guys have asked about a lot are just these kind of Birkenstock leather knockoffs. They are very, very comfortable. Yes, in my walking life, I can wear them walking in the neighborhood, even pretty long distances. They've got a cork sole, and I will see if I can find a link to these. The brand is Esprit, but you could probably find different versions of them. But what I like about these is I think they look a little bit classier, and I think they really look good when they are paired with a leather belt. And this leather belt I got in a vintage store near Zion National Park. So pretty fancy schmancy with a beautiful gold buckle. I have worn it for years. Okay, so there you go. There is my beginning of fall outfit of the day. Stuart, why don't we take a break here and move on? Well, in addition to the chalk artistry, the other thing that really welcomes everyone to fall and to the cottage on the hill are all the flowers in the front cottage garden beds. The zinnias are still putting on a great show. I need to come out a little bit earlier tomorrow morning and cut a big bouquet. I'm starting the renovation, the deadheading, all of that of all of the blooming perennials, the blooming annuals, and getting ready to really autumnalize, or as I like to call it, pumpkinize, because to me that's a verb. So tomorrow we're going to be at Brick's Garden Exchange on 40th and Classen. I'm going to be selecting my pumpkins and some other things. But I was there yesterday taking, well, let's just say I was getting a little early glimpse at what they had, what their offerings are. And I'm going to show you some of them that I brought inside. But let's start out by going in the front door where I have hung, I think, a really fun wreath. Some of you may recognize this wreath. I got it a couple of years ago from Terrain, and I just love it. It is metal. It's got a really rustic quality to it. I can tuck things into it from the garden, or I can just leave it like it is. And I love the fact that it almost perfectly fills the round window, and it looks especially striking from the street. So I guess maybe that might be another question I have for you guys. Are you wreath people or not wreath people? And I tend to not have one up in the spring and fall, or spring and summer, but in the fall I'm all about them. So Stuart, let's go inside and see a few more fall decor touches. So just follow me on in. And you can see that there's a few touches of September blue in the throws that I have out in, in some candles, different things like that. But probably the most strikingly fall thing are these white pumpkins. And I'm so curious to know if, boy, I've got a lot of questions today, if you guys tend to fall into what has become recently very popular of the white pumpkin rage, or are you more traditional and you like the real bright, vibrant oranges, all of the warty pumpkins? We'll see all of them tomorrow, the fairy tales. Well, I kind of fall in both categories, and for outside I tend to like the really vibrant colors, but inside, especially now that I've got a lighter, brighter decor with more marble, more blue and white. I'm really channeling these white pumpkins right now. So I just got an assemblage of different ones that I gave just a hint. I didn't coat them completely, but just a hint, just a whisper of clear gloss enamel on them to give them a little bit of sheen and capture the light and the candlelight when I have candles lit here on the island. But I love kind of the, I love the looks of the stems, and what I love about it, bricks, I think this is a very important thing. They really pay attention in their pumpkin selection to the stems. So you not only get the gorgeous orb of the squash itself, but then you also get a really, really beautiful stem that I think lends so much architecture and so much earthiness to the pumpkins themselves. So I have a lot of these baby ghost pumpkins here. And then just a couple, I didn't want to overdo it. In the past, I think my maximalist self would have wanted to stick all sorts of greenery and things like that in between the different gourds, the different pumpkins. But in this case, I really wanted the more minimalist vibe, the more minimalist drama of just these white pumpkins on these white horchow cake stands. Many, many years ago, my second mom gifted me a whole set of these. I think they've got like 5 different components. And it's a really fun way to elevate something that's ordinary and that's not necessarily edible, but just something that is decorative. And they really, I think, in their own way, speak to fall. So I love this kind of look. Another way that I like to use cake stands, and by the way, cake stands of any variety, whether they are metal, ceramic, wicker, they can be bone china, they can be porcelain, they can be almost anything. I think they are just so multifunctional, and there are just so many ways that you can use them around the house. A lot of times I'll get out a cake stand and I'll just put a beautiful bouquet on it, or a beautiful house plant or something along those lines, inside and out. And here's another example where I use the other 2 parts of that multi-tiered cake stand to decorate my house. So Stuart, if you want to kind of come over here, let me move this lamp. So when I was decorating these different shelves, I wanted this side to speak to that kind of white porcelain look. It's my white wall of china, kind of. And I had a couple of different pieces that when they were just laid flush on the shelf itself, they didn't quite have the drama that I was looking for. So I took the smallest level, or maybe next to the smallest level of this cake stand, and I set, can you see here what I've done? It almost looks like it looks like it's one piece, doesn't it? Yeah. So that is just another level of that cake stand, but it raises this porcelain platter and cover. It raises it up and gives it the height and kind of the dimension that I really like. Likewise, I did it with the very top tier of the cake stand set, and that's by elevating my white porcelain fruit in a white porcelain bowl. But here, the top level is actually a bowl. So to make it look as if it's all one piece, I turned it upside down.
Is there any stand in your entire existence that isn't meant for something else?
Nothing, because that's the beauty of cake stands, and that's why I always look for them at thrift stores. So on our next thrift store outing, it's definitely going to be on my list, because this looks great, I think, because it looks so homogeneous, and the white stands really speak to the white accessories that are sitting on top of them. I wouldn't get the same effect if this were wood or it were metal. It might be appropriate, but it may not be the effect that I was going for. So there's kind of like a little decorative tip, is think outside the box with your various cake stands. There are just so many things that you can do with them. I think that they're one of those kind of decor items that tend to look better when grouped in multiples. And this, like I say, this cake stand set from WORX, which I have used in a million different ways, has just proven to be very ambidextrous in my house. And it is multifunctional, multi-purpose, and multi-beauty, creating in a lot of different places inside my kitchen. Here is my question of the day. I tend to think of fall as kind of a series of sub-seasons. So there's very early fall when it's still kind of hot out. And then there's mid-fall, kind of around Halloween and such. And then there's late fall, which is closer to Thanksgiving. So definitely right now we are in that very early fall, that prelude to fall, if you will. And I decorate a little bit differently for each one of those sub-seasons. So right now, my color for the month, it is September, and my color for the month is this kind of dusty, almost a French blue, because it reminds me of the beautiful skies in September. So I find that I kind of dress in it. I like to use it in little home decor touches, signature touches, if you will. And some of the things right now that are kind of on my radar in that regard, you guys know I love taper candles, and I just love the subtle beauty, the subtle nuanced gradation of these different tapers. I love tapers in general. Now I do have them lit. It is the middle of the day typically. I don't like candles during the daytime, but I did want to show you just how beautiful these different colors are. There's actually 4 of them, and an even paler taper colored candle is someplace else. So it's just a fun way, especially if you live in a small home or a smaller home like I am now, to kind of zhuzh up your decor, switch it out a little bit in a way that's just not too expensive. So I switched out my candlesticks and I switched out the candles. So they've got this kind of ombre blue look. Now in the centerpiece, I brought out my beautiful oak bowl that was handmade for me from the remnants of my almost 100-year-old oak tree that was at my other house. And I think it looks beautiful with these kind of wooden candlesticks. And I believe I have the link to both of these, and I will put them below. But it's just an inexpensive way to kind of change your decor and give you a little jolt of joy. Consider them a little life luxuries, if you will. Now, some other things that I'm just wanting to switch up in an inexpensive way. My mom used to say that she could completely change her mood just by relocating where her coffee pot was in the kitchen. It would completely change the paradigm of her day and her zeitgeist. So these are just those little kind of subtle changes that give you a different orientation to the day-to-day routines we go through every 24 hours. So here are another couple of little luxuries for you. Another thing that you guys asked me about so much was what color of lipstick I had in the last video. Stuart, you must have just had me in the right light, because so many people asked. Well, let me share with you. I am not one that spends a lot of money on lip color. I would rather have variety than an expensive few. And I really like Wet n Wild lipsticks because they're almost like samples. They're so inexpensive. You can just go to CVS or go anywhere and you don't feel guilty if they don't work out. So the color that I had on it was one of two. It was either Wet n Wild number 965 Cherry Pickings. Stuart thinks this is hysterical.
You don't know which one it was.
I'm not sure which one it was. It was one of these two though. Or it was 9060 Wine Room. Is that what that says? I need to have my glasses on. So just check out the Wet n Wild colors. I think they're great. They're so inexpensive. I will put the link for those of you who may not have a location that's near you if you want to order them online. But you asked, so I am answering. Many of you asked, so I am answering. And that one of these was the lipstick. Kind of answering. So one of these was the lipstick that I had on. Okay, another subtle little change that I am wanting to make is, you guys know that I wear an Apple Watch religiously, and I love it because it helps me, well, it just does so many things. It helps me find my phone, it helps me count my steps, it tells me what the temperature is for so many reasons. And I have worn for a very, very long time this metal link watch band. I will put a link to it. You get that, a link to my link watch band. And I've had it for a very long time, but now I just want to switch it up a little bit for this season. So for all of $16, I ordered a new tortoise shell watch band, and I don't know, to me, tortoise, anything tortoise that speaks of tortoise kind of reminds me of fall. So I got this new link watch band to break out for the season. I'm going to have to take out lots of links because I have really tiny wrists, and that's always an issue. But once I get those links taken out, it is just a subtle little luxury that will help me feel like I am bringing in the fall season. Something else that I found, and isn't it interesting how we come across something and then all of a sudden we see it everywhere? Well, I'm already starting to think about Christmas gifts for both of my kids, but I have also been looking at something that might be an icebreaker when I'm going to have a party, a girls' gathering, if you will, with lots of my new gal pals in the neighborhood, but that I don't know very well, and obviously some of my girlfriends that I've had forever. And I saw this in one place, and then all of a sudden I was seeing it everywhere. So indeed, Big Brother may be watching me. But it's called A Game of Stories. Now, I am not a game player, and I never have been. Maybe I just have trouble sitting for that long to play Monopoly or Clue or anything like that. But this is an ice-breaking game, A Game of Stories. It's by someone named Esther Perel, and it's just a place where you select a card and a question arises, and then everybody just shares their respective answers. And it's got thought-provoking things that I think will open doors into the personalities of new friends, but also make everyone share a little bit of vulnerabilities, which is another good way to get to know each other. So like one of the questions on this card is my most irrational fear. A text message I fantasize sending, the worst date I've ever been on. And there are just a lot of different ones of these. And I know that this is not only something that will be a good icebreaker for when I have my cocktail party or my whatever it is, my entertaining gala for my new gal pals, but this is something my kids will love, especially Jamie and Taylor. This is just right up their alley. So I'm also putting this on their Christmas gift list. And I love the fact that it coordinates. It coordinates with my table. So I will put the link below. It's a great Christmas gift idea. It would make a great hostess gift, I think, if you're going to go stay with someone over the holidays or whatever. And it's just one of those little life luxuries that I think is a fun thing to have on hand, especially if you're in kind of an uncomfortable situation with with a gathering of others and you're just really not knowing what direction it should go. So this would be a great icebreaker. So there you go. Now let's move on to a little bit more specifically autumnal fall decor. Well, if I find a problem solver, I always want to share it with you. And this has been a persistent problem that I've had for years because Hubs likes to eat in his dad chair. And sometimes that can be kind of messy and he will get the arms of the chair filthy. And there's only so much I can do to cover them. But I found this wonderful little tension wood tray. So it's got these just tension holders and the tension is pretty strong, you guys. Yeah. And you just set it over the arm of the chair or the couch or whatever it is. It stays in place, it doesn't move, and it not only serves as a little table, a little tray for Hubs, but it also protects the arm of the chair. And I like this one because it matches the other blonde wood things that I've got in the house. It was not expensive, but I'm also going to get one. This is his kitchen dad chair, and he's got a leather dad chair in the great room, and I anticipate that there will probably be another option and maybe a different wood color for his dad chair in the great room. So there's just an inexpensive solution to a problem that I and Hubs have had for years. Now, as I told you, I have all sorts of different kinds of cake stands, and where I store them is in this cabinet right behind my bar stools. And I've got all different kinds in here, most of which I inherited from my mom, but some of which I found thrifting. So I've got some glass ones. You can see it's got a square top to it. I've got some that are green, some that are metal, some that are wooden. And then another thing that I look for at thrift stores are any kinds of domes of any size or shape that would go over whatever confection that I have on the cake stand. And I love little mini cake stands as well. So this is where I keep them. You can see I haven't even really finished organizing this cabinet. I need to put down my shelf paper, and I will. It's one of those things I haven't gotten to. But it really helps, I think, to use what you have in novel ways. It helps reduce the amount of money that we spend on decorative items, and it is using something that might have sentimental value to you. Well, before I share with you today what I am reading and what I have learned this week, let me share with you some early fall touches that I've got in this little area right around the settee in the parlor. I don't have a lot of dahlias in my garden, but I have a few, and when I cut those few, I really want to showcase them beautifully. So I've got some lavender pink ones here in just a plain glass vase that, yes, I got when I was thrifting. I have these glass cylinder vases in all different shapes, or I guess not different shapes, but all different heights. And then I also have in there a glass flower frog, and we'll make sure to get a close-up for you so you can see that. And what that does is it just gives this kind of Japanesque, kind of minimalist quality to what are just a few blooms in my garden, but I think beautiful, and showcase them every bit as well as if I had a whole, say, a pitcher filled with them. So I love that touch. Another thing that I am starting to look for, and this is what I am thinking about this week and what I have learned this week, and that is every time I go on a walk now as part of the walking life, I really need to make sure that I have a backpack with me, or I have, what are those things? Fanny pack with me, or something that I can put my foraged finds in, because right now is when there is just so much treasure on the sidewalk. So for example, I found some little crab apples, most of which were squished by passers-by, but I selected some that still had good integrity to them. And I think this is a wonderful, someone was asking me, Linda, how do you decorate if you just don't have much of a budget, or you're on a limited income? Well, this is the way you do it, because something as simple as a crab apple can really have a certain poetic beauty to it, and it is free for the taking, along with, of course, the things that we normally think of, you know, like pine cones and acorns. Another thing that I did, I don't know if you remember this, Stuart, but that I did last year, was one of my very favorite things. I found just a beautifully dried and curled sycamore leaf, and I gave it a sheen of spray enamel, and I showcased it on a stand and on a little easel, and it was one of my favorite things. It had a real architectural quality to it, very minimalist, but it was just beautiful, and it still stands out to me as one of my favorite things for last year, from last year's fall decor. So just to make sure that when you are out and about, keep your eyes open and always have something where you can kind of gather those foraged finds. If you can't get out to forage yourself because for whatever reason, like this time last year, I was recovering from surgery, then maybe you get somebody else on their walks to open their eyes and find some little natural beauties for you. So Stuart, what about we take a break here, and then when we come back, I'll share what I'm reading this week. And before I share with you what I am reading this week, I hope this is something you are ordering this week. So here's my commercial for the Garden Journal. As soon as I have sample pages to show you, I will. I am desperate to get this. Every single day I think of things that I want to record in it. But it is a 5-year journal, so you can compare 1 year to the next over a period of 5 years on one page. It will be stock full of tips like, how do I calculate how much mulch I need? What's my inventory of tools? You can keep your garden tool inventory in here. Your favorite resources for where you buy your bulbs, where you find your seeds. You can, again, buy that little printer that I like so much. A number of you bought it. I hope it isn't sold out. Because I want to get one for somebody else for Christmas. See, I think out loud as I'm talking to you guys. I apologize, it's so stream of consciousness. But this really is, hopefully you know how authentic it is, because this is how I roll. But then I can take little tiny snapshots that have an adhesive backing, and I can put that in my garden journal. And as I said, as soon as I have pictures that I can show you, I will. It will have a beautiful little, oh, I don't know what this is called, but a beautiful little strip here on the back. But what I can show you is the type of illustrations that will be sprinkled throughout the journal. These are different iconic images that we have commissioned an illustrator to produce from photographs. A lot of these were from the cottage on the hill, but a lot of them are just from things like my topiary that I have brought with me. So I think it's a wonderful keepsake. I think it will be a great heirloom for you to pass down to your family members. It would make a great Christmas gift. And then there's also little things like pockets and stuff in it, and ribbon dividers so you can mark your place. And I will be keeping it right by my front door so that when I make any kind of observations, either horticultural or natural or seasonal, I can make sure that in that moment I record it in my garden journal before the memory of it slips away. Okay, so now to what I am reading this week. This is one I have pulled off my shelf. It is still available, and even if you are someone that does not want to add any more tomes to your gardening library or your library in general, I will tell you this is worth every penny. It is one of my most referenced books in my library. This is The Undaunted Garden by the inimitable Lauren Springer, and it is all about planting for weather-resilient beauty. I can't tell you how many times I have looked in this book when I was getting ready to do a segment on Channel 4 about plants that could stand up to hail, or plants that could stand up to heavy rains or high winds. And it goes through each category of plants kind of like let's say perennials and annuals, flowering things, and then it will go into things that are kind of strappy, like daylilies and grasses. And it will talk about what type of weather resistance they are most adapted to. So it might be heat, it might be hail, it might be wind, it might be late frost, it might be early frost, it might be in an area that she affectionately, and that I've adopted, she calls hell strips. That area that is unirrigated, say between the sidewalk and the street. So it is just chock full of not only beautiful images, but just really indispensable lists and tips and ideas for all of us if we garden in a less hospitable environment. And I anticipate that that will be the case for all of us down the line. So that would be my first book recommendation, The Undaunted Garden. And of course, I will put a link to this book below if you want it. I'm not sure, since it's an older book, I'm not sure how many they have in supply, so you might want to order it before it sells out. The other book that I got was actually recommended to me by a florist. And this is Just Add Water, Easy Techniques, Everyday Ideas for Inspiring Flower Arrangements by Cynthia Galen Bigany. And I like it because it helps with the kind of the infrastructure and the techniques for composing not only different arrangements, but different kinds of looks and different kinds of, boy, I'm really dropping things today, Stuart. And by the way, as long as I'm dropping them, here is maybe a question and a tip. When I've got a tear out sheet, and I think, oh, I might want to replicate this somehow, or it's a great idea, and I don't necessarily want to put it in a file or make a file for it, then I will take whatever the topic is, and I will take these tear sheets, as you just noticed, and I will stick them in the type of book that they relate to. So I will have flower arranging ideas in my flower arranging books, and if it's a seasonal arranging book, I will have my seasonal ideas in there. It's just another way that you can store some of your tear sheet ideas, which you, like me, probably have in abundance. So it's got some great ideas, different looks, different techniques. What I refer to it now for, I think, more is how I can simplify something that I am inclined to go overboard on. And I'm looking in here, Stuart, this is funny. One of the first pages I open up to has mom chairs just like mine. So anyhow, I highly encourage you to get this kind of book, particularly if you, like me, love to arrange flowers in different ways, both modern and classical. And again, I will put a link to Just Add Water in the description box below. Well, I often get different requests for suggestions, for ideas about what to do if you are in Oklahoma City, if you're coming from out of town. And here are a couple. Number one, down by the Powerhouse, Stuart, in the Farmers Market District, there is a Hatch Chili Festival going on this weekend. It is so much fun. It smells like Santa Fe. It smells like the Southwest. I absolutely adore it. And they're roasting Hatch chilies, which you can then buy. And then there's just all sorts of other things that you can do there. I think they have live music. I think they've got stands. They've got maybe some food trucks. You can obviously get a brewski at the Powerhouse. There's just so much to do, but it's a really fun and so seasonal thing. So to those of us that live in this part of the country, I think the scent of roasting Hatch chilies at Whole Foods and at different venues like this really speaks to the season. So that's one thing I would recommend. The other thing that I would recommend if you are in Oklahoma City or anywhere in these parts is to go to Brick's Garden Exchange tomorrow. I'm going to be there in the morning. These are the first pumpkins I have seen, and they've got an absolutely fabulous selection. They've got a fun little photo booth thing that your kids can stick their head through, and you can take pictures of them. They're going to have a new inventory of all sorts of different plants, both seasonal perennials, but also evergreens. They'll have things like you know, corn and hay bales and all of that kind of thing. But I went and got a little preview of it the other day, and it was so fun. I cannot wait. And we, of course, shared tips on how to make, though I don't know how effective they are, but how to make your pumpkins and gourds squirrel proof. So this is their fabulous fall reopening. They shut down to kind of regroup and beat the heat for a little while, but they're open again. And like I say, I will be there, and it is my favorite pumpkin source in Oklahoma City. Another thing that you might want to think about, if you haven't already done so, is go outside, and if it is time for you to clip some of your dried hydrangeas, then you want to make sure that you do that as well before they get blown from high winds, or they get saturated by heavy rains, or they just get fried to a crisp if you're still in the 100-degree temperatures. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on Signature Style Saturday. Hopefully you will be with me tomorrow when we go over to Bricks. And Stuart, what do you say?
See you later.
Adios. Bye-bye.